Hi, it's Seed World Canada editor Mark Zinkowitz. I am in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan this week for the meetings of the Prairie Grain Development Committee. These are very important meetings that take place each year where new lines are put forward to be recommended for registration. Sheri Strydhorst is a familiar name in Alberta agriculture and Western Canadian agriculture. She serves as chair of the PGDC, and she's just wrapping up her 3-year stint as chair. I sat down with Sheri to talk about what she's learned during her time as chair and what the future holds for PGDC. In case you're not familiar with Sheri, she is the owner of Sheri's Ag Consulting. She and her husband Shane farm in Nearlandia, Alberta. She also runs Alberta's Regional Variety Trial Program. Enjoy our chat. Well, thank you, Sheri, for sitting down with me. We're at PGDC 2024. You are chair of PGDC, and you're just wrapping up, I believe, your second year, so you're almost done your stint. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm actually wrapping up my third year as chair.
Third year.
I think it's confusing because of the COVID years. So, this is my second in-person meeting of chairing. And I started with the executive in March 2018. So I was first member at large, which it's a nice system where we have it set up to kind of mentor for 3 years, and then you step into the chair role so that it's not going in simply blind. You have that 3 years of preparation before you get to be in charge of the reins there. And I think, I wasn't ready for the COVID curve, but I don't think the rest of the world was either.
I'm sure you faced a lot of challenges, and I wanted to ask you what your biggest accomplishment was as chair, but let's start with the challenges. What's been sort of the number one challenge, maybe something you didn't expect when you took that role?
Yeah, I think when I signed on for the role, it was, Sheri, this is going to be easy. We've had a long-term event planner, and you just have to roll with it. And our event planner told us when I started, she's retiring. So there was kind of curveball number one. And we, I think, although a challenge, we have a fantastic event coordinator. Angela Brackenreed is doing just a phenomenal job, and we're really thrilled to have her for this year. She told us that she's willing to stay on for another year, so we're really grateful for that. And I think the other challenge with PGDC, and while not really variety registration, it was again back to COVID that I learned about hotel contracts and force majeure and rolling forward contracts. And I remember when we were going to these virtual meetings, we had sessions on training of how do you share your screen? And I know that sounds silly nowadays because we have all adapted to this online meeting style, but back then it was, we need this to go flawlessly. So we even started with some of those basics and provided some of that training to the membership.
Is there one or two big things that you think, as the last 3 years as chair was kind of like your crowning achievements?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have learned through this role as chair and previous roles as chair, whenever I transition out, I want my successor to be ready. So it's always been talked about, we need liability insurance, we need to have operating procedures, and I've made sure that those things are in place because I don't like stepping into a chair role where it's, here you go, good luck, there's the passwords. And to provide that person with really clear, this is how we do things, this is the history, because that institutional knowledge, even of PGDC, is really helpful. And I want to set that next chair up for success. So I think that's been one of the things I'm most proud of, is I do think I've left a platform for Anna Bidet, who is transitioning into the chair at the end of these meetings, that she is set up with a framework for success.
What is your advice for Anna? Like, if you had one, I'll be interviewing Anna tomorrow. If you had one piece of advice for hey, you're going to take this role, here's what you need to know, what would that be?
It is a group, the executive. There are the chair and the secretary from all the recommending committees, a treasurer, member at large, and there is such historical knowledge in that group. They are so willing to help. Lean on them. They will be there to support you like they supported me. And it is really a great group of people to work with and build professional relationships with. I've been thrilled with that support. So I think that's my advice to Anna, is there's great people she's going to be working with. And, having Angela in place again, who has been through the PGDC 2024 and knows what to anticipate for 2025. And I think one of the other challenges that she's going to face is one of the things we are running up against. Most of our venues are at 300 kind of people capacity, and we're pushing it, and that's great that so many people want to attend and learn and be part of variety registration, but there are going to be some growing pains, I think, as we get to be a bigger and bigger group and maybe outgrow some of the physical space of what we have at these venues. So I think Anna will have her own opportunities to shine and work through some of those challenges.
Well, I heard that this was like a sellout crowd this year, that you had to put like a cap on it. Is that true?
Yes. So comfortable venue space for the big meeting room is 275. We can fit 300. I think we're at like 302 kind of thing. And not every single person will be in that room. You know, we have a couple people who can't get here for travel, but yeah, it's fantastic. We had a waiting list. But it does require us to do things a little differently and think about how we are going to manage the extreme amount of interest in this group. And we did have, some people who said, I wanted to buy a ticket, but I realized I wasn't a priority person to be here. And they set aside that ticket for someone, a voting member. And it's new territory.
Yeah, what do you attribute that to? I mean, you've been on a couple of my panel discussions lately talking about, the challenges that public plant breeding is facing. Yet there's this like surge in interest for PGDC, and so this group seems to be getting more interest than ever. People seem to think that it's more important than ever. And what do you attribute that to?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I think, first of all, we have some scientists retiring and some experts retiring, and then they're here mentoring the next generation. So there's maybe a little bit of that overlap. But I do think maybe there's bigger and bigger recognition of genetic technologies in seeds and what potential there is. And largely PGDC has been, maybe people look at it from the outside and go, there's a black box, and they want to learn and understand the system, and being here is the best way to understand the system.
Yeah, true. And when you think about the future, what after 3 years doing this now, what does the future hold for PGDC? Where is it going? Do you have any thoughts on kind of, we're getting these bigger numbers than ever, and so what do you think is in store for it? I
do think it's going to be a time of change coming up in the next 3-year window. I think there's a lot of unknowns, like with SRM, what is going to happen there, and I certainly can't speak knowledgeably about what's happening, but I do think change is coming, and this group is going to have to adapt and be flexible like it has through history, and it has adapted and gone through iterations to be more efficient and serve the industry needs. And I do think that the upcoming 3 years might be preparing for more change.
When you say change, what kind of changes do you think might be on the horizon? Is there anything specific that comes to mind?
At our plenary tomorrow, there's going to be discussions about different breeding tools and what is that going to look like, and what's the legislation around that, and how are plant breeders going to bring that into varieties. So many questions. I don't have the answers, but I do think that's going to be a huge part of the change coming forward.
Yeah, I think so. No, looking forward to the plenary session tomorrow, and congrats on your 3 years and a lot of hard work, but finishing up, I'm sure you've earned a well-deserved break.
Thank you very much, Mark, and I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, and I will miss this next year.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. You can read all about the plenary session and some of the things talked about there in our Seed World Canada story about this year's PGDC meetings. Watch our website for that, seedworld.com/Canada. Have a great day.